Welcome to today's Explainer, guys. I am so glad you're here. We are going to look at something pretty amazing today. So imagine for a second you were just handed a real treasure map. But wait, this map isn't going to lead you to some dusty old wooden chest buried in the sand filled with gold coins. No way. This map is way better than that. Today, we're diving straight into a biblical text from the book of Proverbs, specifically Proverbs chapter 23. You can basically think of this passage as a super exciting treasure map given directly to us by God. It's designed to help us navigate through life and find true happiness. So, you ready? Let's dive right in and see what we can discover together.
Let me ask you something. Do you want to know the secret to a great future? I mean, if we're all being honest, the answer is a massive yes, right? We all want to grow up, do amazing things, and just have a wonderful, happy life. Well, the really incredible thing about the biblical text we're exploring today is that it doesn't leave us guessing. God has a direct, totally hopeful answer for us right in His Word. He genuinely wants you to have a fantastic future, and He gives us the exact clues we need to unlock it. So let's open up the very first section of our map, Theme 1, A Future with Hope. When we read this part of the biblical text, it's really all about the amazing future He promises to anyone who follows Him. You know, it's pretty easy to look around the world and wonder what's going to happen next. But God actually wants us to start our journey with our heads held high, just completely filled with hope. The text gives us this fascinating warning to help protect our hearts. It says, "Do not let your heart envy sinners, but always be zealous for the fear of the Lord." Okay. Let's break that down for a second. Have you ever seen other kids making bad choices? Maybe they're being unkind or breaking some rules. And, well, it kind of looks like they're having fun. Sometimes it can be super tempting to feel a little jealous of them. That's exactly what envying sinners means. But God is telling us right here that He doesn't want us to feel jealous of those bad choices, mostly because they just don't lead to a happy ending. Instead, He gives us a much better instruction. The text tells us to be zealous for the Lord. Now, that's a pretty big word. Being zealous basically means feeling super excited, really energetic, and completely eager to do something good. God doesn't want us dragging our feet when we follow Him. No way. He wants us to be incredibly excited to respect Him and just cheerfully follow His rules. Think about that crazy excitement you feel on the very last day of school right before summer vacation. That is exactly the kind of energetic joy He wants us to have when we choose to live His way.
So we all have this big choice to make every single day. On one side, we've got envying sinners, being jealous of people doing the wrong things. Honestly, that path just leads to a whole lot of trouble. But on the other side, we have fearing the Lord. Now, just to be clear, in the biblical text, fearing absolutely does not mean being scared of Him. Not at all. It actually means having a massive amount of respect and awe for Him. It means knowing how big and how good He is, and making the totally awesome choice to honor Him. When we put these two options side by side, it's pretty incredibly clear which path is the real winner.
And why is it the winning path? Well, it's because of this really beautiful promise right here. The text says, "There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off." Guys, this is God's personal guarantee to you. When you make the choice to respect Him and live with that zealous excitement for His ways, He literally guarantees a wonderful, hopeful future. It's a hope that is permanent. No matter what is happening around you, that amazing future He has planned for you can never, ever be taken away. All right, let's move right along to our next section. Theme 2, Staying on the Right Path. You see, having a great future isn't just about wishing for one. It's actually about the daily habits we build and the choices we make every single day. The biblical text gives us some super practical advice on how to keep our feet walking steadily on His path and safely away from those dangerous ditches on the side of the road. The passage continues with a plea from a parent. It says, "Listen, my son, and set your heart on the right path." The really crucial point to catch here is that staying on the right track isn't something you have to do all alone. Learning to be wise is absolutely a team effort for the whole family. We listen, we learn together, and we help each other keep our hearts pointed in the exact right direction. But in order to stay on that path, we kind of have to know what obstacles to avoid, right? The biblical text lists a few very specific warnings for us. It tells us not to join those who drink too much wine or those who gorge themselves on meat because, well, that leads to poverty and drowsiness. Now, for us today, we can easily translate these warnings into some really practical ideas. God wants us to avoid bad influences that can cloud our thinking. He wants us to not be selfish or greedy with the things we have, and He definitely wants us to avoid laziness, which is represented here by that drowsiness that ends up leaving people in rags. To understand this a bit better, let's look at the word glutton from the text. So a glutton is someone who gorges themselves on food or is just, very greedy.
Imagine for a second if you sat down and ate an entire giant birthday cake all by yourself, plus, let's say, 3 huge bags of potato chips. How would you feel after that? I mean, you'd feel terrible, completely sick, and probably super sleepy, right? You definitely wouldn't want to go out and do anything productive. The text uses this vivid picture to warn us that being completely greedy, taking way more than we actually need, just makes a person poor in spirit, lazy, and sleepy. It totally distracts us from the great future he has for us. And that leads us perfectly right into theme 3, listening to your parents. Listen, if we want to avoid being greedy or lazy and we really want to stay on the right path, we need guides. And God gave us the absolute best guides for this journey. The biblical text breaks this down into 2 very clear, actionable steps for us. Step 1, listen to your father who gave you life. Step 2, do not despise or disrespect your mother when she is old. Guys, these aren't just polite suggestions. They are literal directions for a successful life. Your parents have walked on this path a whole lot longer than you have. When you always listen to your dad and always show deep respect to your mom, you're actually picking up free wisdom. You're letting them help you navigate around those tricky obstacles so you don't trip and fall. And here's the absolute coolest part about following that instruction. The text says, the father of a righteous child has great joy. See, when you choose to do what's right, when you're kind, respectful, and make good choices, it doesn't just benefit you. It actually brings huge smiles and massive happiness to your parents. Just knowing that you're living righteously brings joy to your mom, to your dad, and most importantly, it brings incredible joy to him. Think about that for a second. You have the power to bring genuine joy to God and to your family just by doing the right thing. How awesome is that? All right, we've finally arrived at our last section for today. Theme 4, the greatest treasure. We started out this explainer by talking about a treasure map, and now we're preparing to reveal the absolute best things we can possibly collect on our life's journey. Now, these aren't things you can just go buy in a toy store or download onto a tablet, but they are infinitely more valuable. Listen to this incredibly powerful instruction straight from the map. Buy the truth and do not sell it. The text is telling us here that God's truth is the single most valuable treasure you could ever possibly own. I mean it. It's better than the newest video game, the fastest bike, or the coolest toy out there. When you find the truth of his word, you need to grab onto it tightly and never, ever let it go. Do whatever it takes to get it, and once you finally have it, never trade it away for anything else. In fact, the biblical text lists 4 very specific treasures we need to spend our lives collecting. Here they are: truth, wisdom, instruction, and insight. These are literally the gems of a happy life. Truth helps us know what is real. Wisdom helps us make the right choices. Instruction teaches us how to act. And insight, well, that helps us understand the whole world around us. Gathering all these invisible, shiny gems in your mind and in your heart is exactly what makes you a truly wise child in his eyes. And as we gather up these treasures, the passage wraps up with this absolutely beautiful, incredible blessing. It says, "May your father and mother rejoice. May she who gave you birth be joyful." This just beautifully reinforces everything we've learned today. Living a life full of his truth, grabbing hold of wisdom, and avoiding those bad habits of the world doesn't just make your own future bright. It brings absolute incredible joy to everyone around you, especially your family. So as we finish up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a big challenge. Which piece of God's wisdom will you use today to show him you are on the right path? Will you make the choice not to be jealous? Will you choose to listen closely to your parents? Or will you actively search for truth and wisdom? The treasure map is officially in your hands now, guys. Pick just one of these gems today, put it into action, and go make your future bright.